Hello and welcome to Voice of America's special coverage of World Refugee Day 2024. I'm Jackson Vunganyi. On this day, we honor the resilience and courage of refugees worldwide. The theme for Refugee Week this year is Our Home, an evocative concept that invites us to reflect on the diverse meanings of home and its importance in our lives. On the program today, we look at this concept through the eyes and voices of refugees and former refugees, from the Dadaab in Kenya to Nakivale in Uganda to Dzaleka camp in Malawi. It is estimated that over 4 million people currently live in the more than 300 refugee camps across Africa. Many are new arrivals, others have been calling these camps home for years or even decades. And joining me in studio is Luwal Mayen, a South Sudanese video game developer and founder of Junub Games. Before relocating to the US over 7 years ago, Luwal was a refugee living in a refugee camp in Uganda. He joins me in studio. Luwal, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me
How
today.
are you doing today, man?
Good.
You and I have talked before many times over the years, and I find your story quite interesting. In many ways, you and I share, as former refugees, we share similarities in our path and of our journey. Let's start off with how you ended up in a refugee camp. Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, first of all, honestly, thank you so much. I'm really, excited to be part of this conversation because it's when people think about the World Refugee Day, we think about okay, who are refugees? This year, I like the idea of the theme, which is our home.
Our home, yes.
When refugees sometimes, when they leave their country of origin, right, they are forced to flee because of many reasons, some of them because climate change, some of them because of the war.
Conflict,
a lot of stuff. My family flee because of the war that happened, a long time ago. And,
from South Sudan.
From South Sudan. And when my family, they didn't just wake up in the morning and try to leave the country. It was a place that they call home. It was a place where they want to cultivate everything. It was home for them, and they had to walk more than 250 miles, to find a place of refuge, to find a place where they can start a new place, a new home. So to me, I feel like a lot of refugees deserve to be in a place that is peaceful to them, because they have been traumatized by war. They've been traumatized by what is going on. So. Yeah, I think,
What are your recollections of those days, walking 200 miles across the border? How old were you at the time?
Yeah, so when my family flee South Sudan, I remember I was born on the way as my family was actually fleeing the war.
So you have no recollection?
I have no recollection, and what I can say with the stories my mom used to tell me was difficult.
Yeah.
Even for her to actually give birth on the way.
The theme for this year's Refugee Week is Our Home. It's a call for celebration of what home means to each of us, while recognizing the journeys undertaken by refugees to find theirs. Uganda hosts the highest number of refugees in the world. We asked some of the refugees in the country about what home means to them. Let's check it out.
I'm here for 14 years. I never feel like I'm not in my home. Home is where you feel peace, where you're secure, where you stay when you are comfortable, without fear, without any worry.
I've been in Uganda for almost now 5 months, and I feel Uganda is my second home because Uganda is a safe place. It's I think Uganda is the safest place from all the places in East Africa. Since I came to Uganda, the kids now they're in school, they're catching up, they're learning English.
South Sudan has been my second home. I love South Sudan. What made me feel at home was the people I work with in South Sudan. They were so friendly. The people, my neighbors, my landlord was like a father to me. My supervisors at work, they were like brothers to me. Everybody about South Sudan was very grateful.
Most especially for us, the young youths, we can say our home, I feel home when I'm secure that my education, I'm doing it well, I'm not disturbed, or I'm not being disturbed by maybe, let's say, going to another place as a refugee.
Uganda has become our second home because we feel at home, we have peace, we are secured, and now we understood that home is not only the place of your origin, but the place where you grow up, place where you get your education, place where you are staying at peace.
Those were South Sudanese refugees living in Uganda and one Ugandan that lived in South Sudan as a refugee. In June 2015, world-renowned Burundian humanitarian and peace activist Marguerite Baranyitse, popularly known as Maggie, was forced to flee her home country, seeking refuge in neighboring Rwanda. Maggie was resettled in Mahama camp in south of Rwanda, and over the last 8 years, she has built a community center for refugees and the surrounding community. She also created the Mahama Elite Center, which works in conjunction with the Mahama refugee camp to give refugees, especially children, the care and resources they need. She joined me in studio to talk about what inspired her journey as a humanitarian. What happened to Maison Shalom at the time when you were in this? How many months were you in Belgium? Was somebody looking over it, or all the children?
Because 80% of my colleagues were former kids of Maison Shalom. They were there until the 2nd of November. The government decided to revoke everything, to close everything of Maison Shalom. Then they were obliged to close the hospital, to close everything, and they rejoined me in Mahama camp.
In a refugee
Kigali.
camp in Rwanda.
Yes.
How has living in exile impacted your work or ability to do your work?
For me, I want that everybody can understand. A refugee is a normal human being in a normal situation. For me, it was an opportunity to show to the whole community, to the humanity, that we have talent, that yes, we suffer, but we can transform our suffering in opportunities. Because all those refugees, they have a talent. Look how, after 9 years, how we transform even Mahama refugee camp. Now I ask to UNHCR and the government of Rwanda that we want that we not to write Mahama refugee camp, but the city of Mahama. And we put, you see the clothes I have.
That is from Mahama. Tailors.
Yes, made in a refugee camp
It
in the
looks
city.
beautiful. It looks
and
nice. Yeah.
they put shoes. I put e-learning center with computers. I bought 40 hectares. We cultivate. We want to show to the whole this, because now I see that people, some government hates the refugees. But we are brothers and sisters. We are one human family. Then for me, it's why I didn't stay in Luxembourg. I have, of course, document because I need to travel to meet you, to spread this message to humanize humanity. Yeah.
How do you maintain hope?
Because I am a Christian. And he said, I will be with you until the end of the world.
So your faith is the thing that helps you go through these
Nobody
difficult
will
times.
Because my experience for many years, for you think from October 1993, but I began when I was 24 years old. Now I am 60, next month, 68. I will continue, even to heaven.
Yeah. What are some of, I guess, your personal values and beliefs growing up that made Maggie the person that she is with such resiliency?
My mom. Because, I lost my father when I was only 5 years old. And my mom was very young, for 24 years old. But she always smiling, always resilient, always tell me that we have a very big family because we pray our Father. And I grew up with this resilience, with this love, compassion in my home. With Mama welcome all the kids. We have never talked about ethnic group. We were talking always about humanity. And then when I was 16 years old in 72, I realized, I said to my mom that I get a shock. I was shocked because I returned in holidays. I said to Mom, you lied to me. We are not one human family.
You had seen the division outside there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And
your
then-
mother had been sheltering you.
Yes.
But when you moved out,
Yes.
you saw the reality.
The reality. Then I said, if it's like that, I will become a teacher. Then I will gather
To spread
all
the
to
message.
spread. But unfortunately, they put me outside.
They
Also,
did.
when I was a teacher, they said, I don't know, in English, they said that I organized a civil,
Civil disobedience campaign.
Yes.
Yeah. A protest. That was world-renowned Burundian humanitarian and peace activist Marguerite Baranyitse. Let's take a quick break and listen to some more voices of refugees, and this time from the Dzaleka refugee camp in Malawi.
When we talk of Refugee Day as International Day, normally it's a very big day to refugees, especially youth. Because if you see, the camp now is holding over 54,000 individuals in the community, and they are from different nationality, different country, different cultures. So find that youth, they have so many talents, so many ways to perform their life, and then you find that they don't have opportunity to address. So when we have the access to the International Refugee Day, we take it as a big day so we can provide to the community what we can do, so we can tell the world what we're capable of doing.
First of all, the biggest problem is lack of education. Like, we only finish from when you complete Form 4, you have nothing to do. Most of the time, just stay home doing nothing, which is not good. But if there may be a opportunity to give us the opportunity to continue with school, like going to the college, they should be supporting us to go to the college, going to the university, something like that.
The thing that I can tell my friends or youth, my fellow youth, yes, it's they should not give up. Because in life, once you give up, that means you will not achieve the goal that you have.
We are pledging different organizations having the potentials of helping young people. So actually to consider our work, the works which we are doing here, we have different young people. They are having knowledge. They volunteer in so many organizations here, but now they are not given that accessibility of saying they should also have the potential of going and also compete for other job opportunities which are available in the country.
Raphael Ndabaga is a Congolese filmmaker who has also been living in the Dzaleka refugee camp. I spoke to him about his experience and how he defines home.
My father was killed, my mother was killed, and I managed to escape with my brother, and we found ourselves in Malawi. So in Malawi, life is very tough, as you might be aware of. In a refugee camp, life is always difficult. You know, access to education is a problem, access to food, it's a problem, access to water, it's a problem, no electricity. So life is very tough, but we don't have any other way to run to. So we managed to live here, accepting everything and move on.
Who do you stay with? Do you live with your family there?
I'm living with my wife and 3 children.
Okay. So do the children go to school? Does your wife work? What is life like for you guys as a family?
Yeah, my wife works as a as a tailor. So she's doing tailoring. And personally, I'm also working online. So it's kind of it's not a guarantee because sometimes I get jobs, sometimes I don't, as currently I'm jobless, but some other times I get jobs online and I work, but our source of income is this tailoring shop where I'm standing on now. So my wife is a tailor, she's working in a tailoring shop, and that's our main source of income because the counseling that I do it for free for fellow refugees and Malawians.
Got you. You've lived there, what, 11 years now. I wanted to ask you, do you ever feel like that is your home? And what does home mean to you?
To me, I consider Dzaleka as my home. Yeah, when I came in 2013, it was a bit hard to understand, you know, from my country to a refugee camp, which is like a prison. You are restricted to do so many things. You don't have any freedom of movement. So it was very tough at first, but since I had no other choices, I decided to accept this as my home. So I consider this as my home because I have that assurance that I sleep at night and I'm gonna wake up in the morning. Instead of in Congo, that you sleep and you are unsure that you can see the next morning because at any time a bomb can fall on top of your house and kill the whole family. You can be sleeping and soldiers, rebels are coming, they kill the entire family. So I consider Malawi, Dzaleka refugee camp as my home because I have that assurance that I can sleep and wake up in the morning. I have assurance of this, of the education of my children. In the morning, they go to school, they will be educated, they will come back home, at least they'll have something to eat. So I consider this as my normal life and I consider Dzaleka as my home.
Were your children born in the camp?
Yes, all the 3 children were born in the camp, yes. When I came, I was single, I was just a little boy. You can imagine taking 11 years from my current age. So I'm now 27, taking 11 years out of 27. You know that I was still I'm 29, I'm sorry. So taking 11 in 29, I was a little boy when coming to Malawi, but I'm now mature, I'm an adult, I'm a father of 3 kids, and I enjoy that. So my all 3 children were born in Malawi.
Ralph, what kind of message would you want to give to fellow refugees around the world on this World Refugee Day?
Yeah, in this World Refugee Day for this year, I want to encourage my fellow refugees all over the world. I want to encourage them and remind them that you can only consider home where you feel peace. So as long as you are granted peace by the host country, thank God, think further. If you have chance to go to school, educate yourself, grab degrees. If you can manage, prepare your life from where you are. I'm going again to remind them that if they have any talent, they can exploit. Being a refugee, yes, you have restrictions in many things. You are limited from doing many things. But to me, I don't just stay in the camp as a refugee, but I consider this as a place where I can prepare my future. I'm able to do filmmaking. I'm producing films without any support from anyone. It's because I have that talent in me. I want to exploit so that the day I will leave this camp and go into a place that will give opportunities for me to express myself and work and produce and get recognition, I don't have to start from there. I have to start from here.
Raphael Ndabaga is a Congolese filmmaker who has also been living in the Dzaleka refugee camp in Malawi. Ethiopian visual artist and storyteller Herui Aregawi Gebremariam has lived in many places since leaving his country to escape a civil war. He's currently curating an exhibit titled Navigating the Now, featuring his own pieces alongside those of artists Akilu Tesmagen and Dereje Demisi. Through his art, Herui invites viewers to contemplate the evolving nature of cultural identity in a globalized world. Herui's art is a diary of his travels and experiences. His journey from Ethiopia to various places in the world has been documented on his canvases. One such place that has left a significant mark on him is Lamu in Kenya. The island's unique blend of cultures and architecture have inspired some of his art.
So this series, like part of, especially the works, the 4 works here are inspired by my stay in Lamu. One of the striking things about the Lamu is beyond the fact that it's a cultural melting pot, it's rich history, good food. They have a unique building technique, which involves mixing corals with lime. Most of the houses in Lamu are white or broken white, and you can have multi-story buildings like narrow alleys, and like these beautiful bougainville flowers, and these old buildings, plus the very refined carpentry, which like you find everywhere, like in the rich people's houses, the poor people's houses, there is always a patterned carved doors.
For Herui, every new place becomes a chapter in his ongoing story of home. His paintings invite viewers to contemplate what home means, not just as a physical space, but as a feeling, a memory, a connection.
I've been here it's been only 5 months since I made my move to the US, but between the place that I call home in northern Ethiopia, in Tigray, and moving to the US, I've stayed in for more than a year in Kenya. So yeah, the question have been lingering.
What is home to you?
It should be somewhere between, like it should be an overlap of like feeling safe and as well as feeling like belonging there, right? The idea of home is not just about the safety, it's about knowing you're surrounded by people who share same values, same language, like where you don't have to be conscious all the time, like a place where you run on autopilot, but you're accepted, like you don't have to make plans every single morning in order to be a human, an accepted human.
Whether it's in Zanzibar, whether in Lamu,
yes.
Why did you choose to paint the door?
Probably I was blown away by the beauty of it first, but that's one of the things I noticed, how the doors are different in back home in East Africa, the places that I have lived in Ethiopia, in Kenya, in Uganda, especially in the small towns or even in the bigger towns, doors are usually open, and like the default state of doors is open, so someone needs to put an effort to close them.
His journey began in Mekelle, the city of his birth, which he was forced to leave due to a civil conflict. But his memories and love for his homeland remain alive through his art.
These pieces are titled Makaloan and Makala 2. They are depictions of my hometown, Makala, where most of my family lives. And I made these paintings in 2022 while the war, the Tigray war was still active, and there was no communication with people living in the region, my friends and my family. So this is practically me trying to lift myself up and to live a love letter to my hometown.
At what age did you come to the awareness that you're actually a refugee?
Wow, like I didn't know. I thought I was at home, you know. So again, like when we go back, I didn't know a lot of things, you know, in terms of like, okay, I was there. I knew that. I knew I was not living at a place of that was not South Sudan.
It was not optimum life for sure.
No, you know. So, but as a child, you know, you grow up to understand things, you know, in terms of like, okay, this is my home. And I always tell a lot of people that when I was in a refugee camp, if I wasn't a refugee, I would never become a game developer. And the reason is because I thought about game as a part of telling stories, and I thought that games are really very great medium to use our past and our experience for other people to understand. So
what was life like in the refugee camp, and how is that reflected in some of the video games that you develop?
The life in a refugee camp to me was all I knew. For example, as a child, and of course I moved to America, and to me, I feel like every day is a new opportunity for us to do something, And when you look back at people in the refugee camp, it's a permanent home for them. A lot of people think that it's a temporary, like where you go there for 3-4 years. I've been there for 22 years. My family have been there more than that. Before. Is
that where you started developing the love for video games?
Yeah, I didn't have that access a lot to the video game. I remember it took my mother like 3 years looking for $300 to buy for me my first computer. And when she bought me my first computer, I was like, wow, like what, what am I going to do with it? There was no power. I would walk 2 hours every single day to go and charge my computer in a refugee camp. And I remember I was the only only kid that had a computer.
Yeah.
So I had to figure things out. And to me, I think I was content in terms of I was happy at where I was. I didn't think about okay, it's gonna take me 2 hours to charge my computer.
Right.
I didn't care about it. I have the legs
That's
to work.
normal for you.
Yeah, normal. Every day, and I was excited. And I would do that every day,
right.
and I remember coming back to my at our home, and then I remember my friend installed a video game called Grand Theft Auto, and I didn't know anything about video games at all. So when I started playing video games, I'm like, wow, I thought video games they just fall from heaven. I didn't know people.
So that's how you got into video games.
That's how I got into video games. I was like, wow, so when I started playing Grand Theft Auto, I was like, wow, I want to make game for,
You became curious about how this evolved.
And then I can use game actually to tell my story.
Yeah.
And then I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And when did you leave the refugee camp? When did you move to?
And
how did you move?
So in 20, I made my first video game. In 20, the same game I'm working on right now, I made in 2016, and. My focus was to help kids in a refugee camp to play, as using game as a playful media, And to me during that time, I didn't have access to I couldn't even upload the game on Apple or on Play Store because it was not in a refugee camp. You cannot do it. And then what happened was one day I was maybe 12 in the morning at night, and I just published the game on my Facebook page, just post and I say, hey, I made a game. And then after that, I woke up, the game went viral. And yeah, everything changed from there. I got invited to go to San Francisco. I went to South Africa for a couple of months to work with the game company. And yeah, then I made my way to the US in 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
How have your games changed over the years? What kind of games are they? What kind of games do you
So right
create?
now I'm working on Salam. It's a game about, so Salam is a high-tension runner game that helps people understand the flight of refugees. The idea is you take a refugee from a war-torn country to find a place of peace. And on the way, what you do as a player, because when one thing I thought about is a lot of people think of refugees as refugees. They don't think about their past experience.
People. Yeah.
And their journey is actually more important to understand than where they are currently, right? For example, I have a conversation with you today. You know my story, but you don't actually know
how you got to.
Yeah, how I got to where I am. And the same thing to me, I know my mom, and I don't exactly understand what she went through as a person, right? And that's what I want people to understand about refugees. When we celebrate refugees, like we talk about our home, I want people to understand more than their home. I want people to understand the experience of what refugees go through as a person. And again, that's where we come about the government. How do we make policies? And those policies are the people that are making policies. Do they really understand? Do they have experience?
Thank you so much for coming today and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And with that, we come to the end of our World Refugee Day special. Many thanks to our guests and to you for joining us. For more on this topic and many others, please visit our website at voaafrica.com. I'm Jackson Vunganyi. Have a great rest of your week.